come to a judgment sort of about how far away from that line sort of relevant sort of premises, whether they're business premises, farms or homes, sort of could be sort of seriously affected by the work. So those are things like disruption sort of caused by sort of vehicles coming and going from sort of a particular pylon, or it might be sort of something like a road closure, for example.
Yeah.
And what we do is we then use sort of online tools to identify specific premises sort of in those sort of areas to sort of write to. So once we know more about the project, and to inform them about how the project will sort of affect them.
Right.
What we also do is we also look sort of carefully at sort of the communities which sort of surround sort of the line sort of as well. So if sort of a community is quite near to a line, what we'll do is we'll try to engage with sort of the local sort of ward councillors, local MP, and also any other groups who have got a particular interest sort of in that particular sort of area. So we'll engage with them to tell them more about the project as well. So in terms of identifying sort of premises, businesses, farms and such like, it's very much is sort of going on the ground and really sort of trying to understand who could be sort of affected. And using common sense really sort of in order to do that. The second way in which we determine sort of which sort of stakeholders are sort of impacted is by sort of again using sort of an online tool. So the Ordnance Survey map of sort of local political constituency boundaries, and so we have a look where the line actually passes through parishes, local council areas, sort of also member of parliament constituencies. Mm-hmm. So we can directly sort of engage with them to inform them about sort of the work that's taking place and how it affects local people. And also how we're communicating with those local people sort of as well. We'll also do a further piece of research to sort of understand what local events could be sort of affected and get in contact directly with events organisers, and also try and understand what sort of non-governmental bodies might have an interest sort of in the line as well, such as national parks. Now, I'm talking a bit generally sort of there because we're still undertaking that piece of research for Indian Queens to Landulph. Yep. I'm not 100% sure whether national parks are sort of affected, but that's a standard approach which we take. So those are the three sort of key things that we do to identify stakeholders that could be sort of affected. So it's going out on the ground, sort of looking and seeing for ourselves sort of who is close to the route. It's using sort of online tools to look at the political representation from one end of the route to the other, and it's doing a wider piece of research to understand local events which are affected and sort of non-governmental bodies and how their land is affected as well.
Right, okay, that's fantastic. And it also asked me as well, suggest suitable methods of communication and interaction with these stakeholders. So meaning once you have found the stakeholders, and obviously depending on their influence and their interest of the project, how would you communicate and interact with these?
So, what we've done with Indian Queens specifically, you can have a look on our website. So we've taken very much a digital first sort of approach. So anybody with an interest in sort of the project can go to the National Grid website. So if you have a look on sort of nationalgrid.com/Indian Queens, what you'll see is sort of a web page with the latest information about the project, and what you'll see on the right hand side of that screen is a sort of a project leaflet, which is a very specific example of the types of communication we do, and that's a very general sort of leaflet which is intended to provide information about the project, its impact and why we're doing the project to a very wide group of people and communities across the line. And what we've done is to not just put that online, but also distribute that to key information points sort of from the between the Indian Queens and Landulph and the communities in between. So in that engagement that I was talking to you about with the parish councils, what we've done is to ask the parish councils what information points in their communities people would pick up a leaflet. And some of them have said to their local post office, others a local pub, and as appropriate we've given them sort of about 100 leaflets each and asked them to distribute those in those specific information points. In terms of the people who are particularly sort of affected by the project, we'll write to them directly because sort of obviously we're not going to have everybody's email address sort of along the route. So we write to people, but we try and sort of reserve that to a relatively small number of people because obviously it's impossible to send out 10,000 pieces of paper sort of by envelope. So we do sort of a really rigorous assessment about who is genuinely going to have their life potentially sort of disrupted by the project and write to them directly, and we'd include that leaflet sort of as well. We're also sort of engage with the media sort of as well. So if you sort of have a look, if you Google Indian Queens National Grid or National Grid Indian Queens, whichever way around, you'll see some of the media coverage that there's been as a result of our engagement with the media, and that was in the Western Morning News, I think, and also the Cornish Advertiser or something along those lines. I mean, you'll see it when it comes up, and also BBC Radio Cornwall sort of as well, to spread that sort of message as wide as we can and direct people towards the information sort of on the website. We'll also go out and meet with parish councils as well. So last month, in November, so me and a colleague went out with the project manager to go and talk to, I think it was about sort of 8 or 9 parish councils in the end, about the work, and do a 20-minute PowerPoint presentation on not just the work which we were doing, but also how those parish councils could help us in terms of spreading the message, spreading the word about the work taking place so that communities were fully prepared. You can also think of other things as well, like site posters. Excuse me, so sort of wherever the work is taking place and there's a heavy footfall, we'll put up a site poster to explain the work sort of taking place. I think that gives you a reasonably good snapshot of the main methods that we'll use on that project.
Right, and in regards to budget-wise, what are you looking for the price of the whole budget, like, for the project?
What, for the overall sort of Indian Queens project, the pylons?
Yeah.
What did we say in our press release? Let me have a look. I think it was 30 million altogether, but let me just have a look at what it said in the media. Sorry, I should have this off the top of my head.
All right.
I'm pretty sure it was 30 million though. Hold on a sec. Yeah, 30 million quid.
That's fantastic. And the time length of the project, because I can see that online it does say that you plan to start work in January 2016 and refurbishment is due to start.
Yeah, so timeline wise we'll be sort of, we're in the process of planning sort of at the moment. Then come sort of January we'll be preparing the sites to get to the pylons. So that means doing things such as preparing access to the pylons with a kind of a stone sort of pathway, and widening gates so our equipment can get into the land. And then come sort of April time, we'll be ready to start the work sort of across the 50 kilometres, and that should all finish sort of in about sort of November.
That's fantastic.
I mean, there's a bit more information on that project leaflet, which is on the Indian Queens website. So do have a look at that, because there's all the information you could ever need, really. And there's a frequently asked questions document on the web page as well.
Right, that's fantastic, James. Thank you very much for that.
Yeah, no problem. So if you've got any other queries, just give us a ring, and we're very happy to help. Just out of interest, how did anybody come across this particular project to give to you as an assignment?
Well, we've actually got a couple to choose from. So, like on the national grid, it says in your area, and then it says project, Battersea gas holders, Bolney substation, and there's several others there. And we had to pick one out of them. So it's me and a group of 4 other people, and I'm actually the project manager of the assignment. So I read up on quite a few, and I was quite intrigued by the Indian Queens to Landulph refurbishment, because it's simple, like no one really thinks that pylons need servicing or refurbishing or anything like that. So it like intrigued me to set this as our project.
Okay, no, that's interesting. Yeah, so hopefully all that's useful. Yeah, get in touch if you need anything else.
I will do. Thank you very much. You have a lovely Christmas as well, mate.
You too. Thanks very much, Ahmed.
Thank you. Bye.
Cheers, bye.
Cheers.
Jannah has been shut from me.
That was the worst.